Well, you might be freezing as temperatures hit sub-zero levels. Wind chill warnings and advisories issued for a big chunk of the country today. But some folks gathering in Davos appear hell-bent on spending, try $14 trillion to combat global warming while greening the global economy, $700 billion a year until the year 2030. It comes as the president is also making his own green push as he begins his second term. Mark Morano calls it absurd. He's with ClimateDepot.com. Well, now it's gotten the presidential blessing, and it clearly is a presidential prerogative. What do you make of it?
Yeah, normally a report like this we could just laugh off, but with President Obama invoking God, of all things, yesterday to fight global warming, this is a serious threat. This was a report by the World Economic Forum, headed by former Mexican President Felipe Calderon, and it calls global warming a crisis. It implies that if we spend $14 trillion, we can prevent another storm like Sandy that hit the East Coast. It's implied we can control the weather. At the same time, it wants to control the economy. It's as if the World Economic Forum's report looked at Obama's stimulus and said, wow, instead of seeing a fiasco, which it was, they looked at it and said, wow, how can we expand this globally? And that's what they're trying to do, $700 billion a year to essentially do what Obama did domestically, internationally.
But think about what they're doing as well. This is not just sort of an equally distributed event. This is money from rich countries going to poorer countries. I'm thinking of Calderon and the impeccable record he had at just losing trillions. That would be the same guy advocating on behalf of these countries that have a tough time getting money allotted to its intended purpose.
Yeah, this is all under sort of the rubric of environmental justice. The idea is the wealthy nations will redistribute their money to the poor nations. And, of course, this will be run by people like Felipe Calderon, who are going to end up, this is a managed economy. They want to get the global economy and manage it. The more the green plans fail, the more the green planners plan.
And we should stress it, whether you support the notion for this or not, then you should then take the next leap, whether it will get to its desired use or not. And let's say the track record is pretty dicey, and the money, the trillions over the years lost, is pretty convincing.
Yes. And the biggest thing here is they're talking about stopping our, quote, addiction to fossil fuels, unquote. Well, if you're worried about the 1.5 billion or so people around the world that don't have running water and electricity, living in huts made of dung, the greatest friend they have is fossil fuels. So the idea that we're going to somehow put solar panels on huts made of dung or windmills in areas instead of real infrastructure and running water and electricity and modern sewage and modern hospitals is insane. It's completely taking reality on its head.
But
and that's why this
aren't they trying to take a look at this cold blast is the latest reminder that's coming our way, and it's going to be 800 degrees below zero. And,
and by the way, 2000
that this is a way to stop this. What do you make of that?
Yes, they think they can control. They actually say in there they can stop future storms. They say they can stop the devastating effects of global warming. Keep in mind, the U.S., the lower 48, they excluded Alaska because it had a record year, a year without a summer, a record cold year, a very cold year, continuing a 10-year decline of temperatures. But what they claim at 1.5% of in other words, the continental U.S. was the hottest ever on record, which, we're finding the 1930s was still hotter if you look at the unadjusted data. But more importantly, globally, we haven't had a temperature rise. We've been flatlining for 15 or 16 years, and 2012 globally is going to come in at one of the coldest years of this century. So the idea is they're focusing on a heat wave in Australia, 1.5% of the Earth in the U.S., and instead of they're ignoring the global, and now they're trying to bring in every storm as somehow a justification for spending literally trillions of dollars in turning over large sections of the economy to international bureaucrats. And Calderon would love to be in charge of managing literally end up being tens of trillions of dollars in a global economy to do absolutely nothing to impact the weather or the climate, because governments can't control weather and climate.
All right. Well, we'll watch closely, Mark. Thank you very, very much. All we urge you folks back home is that you know what the prevailing media says about this, that the overwhelming science supports this sort of thing, but you should know that it is not all science, and you should know that the record on global governments doing anything is not perfect. So even if you were to support such an initiative, look what you're putting your faith in. So it's just out there. Fair and balanced. Well,